Good morning and welcome to our Facebook Live this morning. My name's Jenny McCormack. I'm an independent standing up demonstrator and I'm based in the market town of Brackley in the UK. Thank you so much for joining me this morning. I hope you had a nice weekend. It's Monday the 13th of December and I'm bringing you a coffee and card design that we did on Friday in Brackley and that we will be doing this afternoon in Toaster. For those of you that don't know, I do a coffee and card session twice a week. And basically it's an opportunity to get together and craft in a relaxed environment. It's perfect for beginners or somebody who wants to have a go at card making. We just make simple cards, morning Catherine, and it's just a fixed price and that includes everything you need. They're held at local coffee shop and a local restaurant, and your hot drink of choice is included, and it's just a really nice relaxing well, it's certainly relaxing for me event, and it means that you can have a go in a small session. Typically it's an hour at the most, and make a couple of cards and take them home. So this is the card that we made on Friday, and it's a really simple design that you could use for anything. So it consists of using a blending brush, but you could use a sponge if you didn't have a brush to hand, to create a soft background area. We then stamp a couple of images and then stamp and punch out a separate image and layer it up on top. So this one, as you can see, obviously is a Christmas card, and I've done this with Pear Pizzazz. This is the same one. I have changed the orientation and I've stamped it onto a white card, but this is stamped with Night of Navy for the trees and Misty Moonlight for the one that I've popped out on the front. Now, this is an easy card if you have an image with a matching punch, because you can just punch it out. However, if you don't have a punch for that, it's very easy to fussy cut or just leave the background as it is. So these are some Christmas versions, and then we have these, which are, as you can see, non-Christmas versions, and this uses the daisy punch and the stamp set that coordinates with it. It'd be very easy to create a whole series of these cards. You could use, for example, flowers and then just leave the sentiment off and add the sentiment at a later time. So I'm going to show you how we created those. They're very simple, and I am going to actually just use a base white card this morning. And obviously it can go in either direction, so you can have it opening in a landscape format like that, or you can have it in a portrait format. I am going to give that a little bit more of a score with my bone folder to make sure it sits nice and flat. If you find your card is opening up, then just make sure you use something to score the edge on both sides. Okay, so I thought I'll do a Christmas one to start, and then something different. It may still be a Christmas, but I've got a different idea in mind, so I might do that. Morning, Bridie. So for the set, we've used Perfectly Plaid, which I used for this one here. So basically I'm going to recreate this, but I'm actually going to do it in a different layer of greens. And so I'll need a blending brush, which I've got here. So these are perfect for creating this really soft background. Hopefully you can see that on the camera. I have changed my setup over the weekend. I cleared my desk and reinstalled my webcam and everything, so I'm hoping this is slightly closer so you can see a bit more of what's going on. Fingers crossed. So I've got this tree here, but you could obviously use any tree, but this happens to have a coordinating tree punch. Now, as I said, you don't have to have a punch. You could easily cut that out. Also, if you had a die cutting machine with matching dies, then obviously you could do that as well. So I'm going to grab the right tree. There's this one here. And we've got assorted Christmas messages, and I may use one for another set. Okay, so I'm going to actually recreate this. I'm going to do this in portrait. I'm going to use the same stamp, but I'm going to use garden green. Actually, evening evergreen or shaded spruce would also look nice, wouldn't it? There's a really deep green. And then I've got some spare card to stamp a tree onto and punch it out. I'll use that one there. So I hope everybody had a nice weekend. It's extremely dull here. It was dull here all day yesterday. Just really damp and not very nice. Right, let's grab a block and get cracking. Oh good, you can see the blending. It depends on how dark I've made it. Okay, let's have a couple of those. So what I might do is use a lighter green. Just looking to see. I'm just going to grab Pear Pizzazz, which I think is here. Because I've got everything in my bag ready for this afternoon, I'm just hopping in and out of the bag. Okay, so the first thing to do is to create this background area that I need. So I'm going to ink up my blending brush. So I just use a generic green brush. I know some people have multiple brushes for multiple greens. But I find a single one is absolutely fine. So just loading this up, brushing a little bit off, and the secret when you're using a blending brush is to start off really light and then build up from there, and that avoids you getting any odd brush strokes. It's a very fine brush, almost like reminds me of a baby brush that you used to get for baby's hair. I don't know if they still do those or not. Anyway, so I'm just going to start off really lightly, not adding any pressure, and you can do that by holding the very end of the brush if you prefer, but I prefer a sort of mid-range, and hopefully you can see some of that going on. I might lift it up a little bit, just about. Okay. So I'm trying not to make you go dizzy, so if it does make you feel dizzy, look away for the minute. And you can add as much of an area with your brush as you like. So let it sort of define where your image is going to go. Hopefully, oh yes, you can see that now a bit better. So I wonder how many of you are ready for Christmas. I certainly am not. I have thought about the Christmas meal. I haven't got my Christmas tree up yet. I haven't written my Christmas cards, although the majority of them are already made. only because I've been making them for the last 2 months, on and off. Okay. Catherine's not ready. That makes me feel better. We've got card class tomorrow in Brackley in Evenley, so I'm looking forward to that for our December design. And then my class in a box will go out during the week as well. Hopefully you won't get caught up in any Christmas post yet. Okay, so as much or as little of that area as you want. Basically, you want it to be a soft background that the trees are going to be focused on. Like so. Okay, mustn't forget to put my blending brushes back in my bag. Okay, so I've got this tree. Just grabbing a piercing mat. Oh, bless her. It's so difficult when you have Christmas birthdays, isn't it? When you're younger. Okay, so I've got garden green, but I say shaded spruce, evening evergreen, any of those would look really nice. Now, if you're doing this as a beginner crafter, I would probably start on a separate piece of card like we have here. And then if you're not happy with the design, you can turn it over. But I'm just going straight on the card because I do like this simplicity of it all being one layer. Okay, so I'm just going to ink this up in garden green. I'm just going to have a practice stamp on here. See what, oh, I forgot my mat. See what it looks like. But that's fine, I'm happy with that. There's a little something on there, hoping to avoid that. Got ink on the side. You can tell it's Monday morning, can't you? Okay. So I think what I'm going to do is, I can't decide whether to do 2 or 4 or whatever. So I'm just going to start there. Oh, Jeanette's gifts are all wrapped. Her tree is half up and her cards are posted. How do you have your tree half up, Jeanette? Presumably maybe the tree's up but not fully decorated, perhaps. Okay, so let's see, I've just missed a bit here. Photopolymer stamps are very useful for spotting when you've missed something. Hi Kerry, good evening to you. I hope you're well. And then what I'm going to do is another one here. Just slightly overlapping. No decoration, says Jeanette. Okay, fair enough. So the tree's up but not decorated. Okay, and I think what I'm going to do is use Pear Pizzazz and stamp a couple more trees as if they're behind. So let's have a look and see. Yes, that will work. Okay, and because it's a lighter colour, I'm putting it slightly higher to look like it's further away, but also you won't see a great deal of overlap. There's a little bit, but in fact you could do this even without the tree on the front if you wanted to. Okay. Oh, Kerry, so we're using Perfectly Plaid, which was a carried over stamp set. So this one here with the 4 trees, but to be honest you could use anything. So this was the design that we're recreating in a slightly different form, but although this is Christmas, you could do this as a non-Christmas design. So basically a blended background, some stamping, and then a cutout tree on the top. I might even put 2 on this one. Okay, so let's grab my piece of scrap card. Thank you, Kerry. It's our coffee and card design, and it's this style has been around a long time. It's certainly nothing new, but it's nice with the blending brush background. And then one that you can pop up on the top. Okay, so let's pop that away. So if you want to soften this background further, you could use some dots. So for example here from the daisy set, I added in these little dots just to soften it, so you could do that. Let's punch these out. Now the tree punch has the trunk as well, and all we're going, oh, I've got those a bit close. All we're going to do is actually cut off that trunk at the bottom. So when you do that, don't do as I do and stamp them quite as close. I think I might get away with that. Let's see, especially if I put that one on the left. So all I'm going to do is grab my scissors and just round this here. I could also, I guess, colour in the trunk with a brown pen. Thank you! That's my UPS man. Okay, and hopefully that's the rest of the my card class orders. Okay, so you can just build this up. So you could just use one as a focal point, or 2 or 3. And I think what I'm going to do is just soften these edges with the blending brush. So what I could have done, if I was doing this again, what I would do is do some blending onto my spare piece of card and then stamp and then punch out from there. Only because the white is, although I like the an edge, the white is quite stark. Thank you. I do like the blue, I have to say, but I wanted to do something slightly different for this one. So this is just a little bit of Pear Pizzazz, so a lighter contrasting green. Now if you didn't have the punch, just fussy cut this out, which is why it works with a fairly solid design. you wouldn't want something too fat, well, unless you love fussy cutting, which I don't, as you might have gathered. I like a little bit of fussy cutting, but I'm not one for fussy cutting lots of words and things like that. It's good that we're all different though. It is good. So we're just adding a little bit of that. And you can hardly see where I did that little overlap of cutting. And obviously if you didn't like the edge, you could fussy cut this one anyway. Okay, let's have a look and see. See how we're doing. So all I'm doing is building a scene, basically. It's, you know, nothing more than that. That's quite effective. Yeah, it's definitely better, I think, with that. The way that I've done this particular one with the bunch of trees is definitely better with that. So let's add a sentiment before we do anything else. And I'm trying to think what's going to fit. This Merry Christmas will fit in nicely. I've got a lot of Christmas sentiments that are all current. So what I'm looking for is something that will balance against this side here. I think that will work perfectly. So now that the rest of my class items have arrived, I'll be prepping the rest of my class in a box. And then working on, I've got another project to release before Christmas, and then working on projects ready for next year. January classes. So we have a new catalogue, a new mini catalogue that starts in January. This one a little bit further down, I think. And it's got some really as always, it's got some really lovely stamp sets, bundles, papers. There we go. And I've got these that I can add in. And then just a bit of bling, I think. It's going to finish this one off nicely. So there we go. And obviously you could have as many of these as you wanted in terms of popping up extra trees. Just wonder if it would work before I take those off. I don't know whether it works with one, that's what I'm thinking. No, I'm going to put 2 on because I've got 5 on there. Just going to pop that down lightly, so if I need to lift it and move it around, I can do. I'm going to have this one just slightly further down like that. Go. And I'm going to add some bling. Could have rounded those a little bit with my bone folder. Ooh. And tempted to put some red ones just on one of the trees, or just to dot some silver ones around like I've done here. What do you think? I've got some green, Not quite the same green though. Let me know what you think. Silver. Yes, I think so. Oh, gold. I've got gold. Well, I've got champagne. Let's see. That might look quite nice. Because the silver goes really nicely with the blue, so I'm thinking maybe the champagne to go with the green. Because it's still neutral then. So I'm going to add 3. Like so. There we go. Happy with that. And I am going to stamp a tree on the inside as well. So let's open that up. Keep it away from too much of the ink on here. Take my bands out of the way. Thank you, Kerry. Let's grab our tree. As I say, very simple. You don't have to. I think obviously if you've got time and you've got special cards to make, then yes, you can, you know, go on and do something quite stunning. If you've got a lot of cards to make, what you want to do is keep it simple. You could change the colours, so there'd be nothing wrong with doing like a purple, so purple trees. I see people do that. I could add 2 either side. I think I'm just going to do 1, but with a sentiment on the inside. Yeah, so just think about, be sensible about how many you've got to do, and don't give yourself such a big task that it becomes, you know, just too big to do. So here I've got, hoping your busy year comes together in Christmas cheer. Just want to press that on. There we go. This is a very well used stamp set, both in terms of the trees and the sentiments. Okay. There we go. Oh, slightly wonky, but it will do the job. Okay, so there's that one. And then I have in mind, because I've got this Peaceful Deer set and I want to use the Deer Punch, I was thinking it might be quite nice to put a whole bunch of trees behind and then just the deer in front. So slightly different in that you're not using the same image. But I've hardly used my Peaceful Deer. We've used it quite a few times for coffee and card. But I just thought that might work quite nicely. So I think I'm going to use this tree, this tall one here, to do the background. So let's do the same thing. And I think I'm going to have a slightly contrasting background, so I'm going to use this tree. Let's have a look and see. Oh, well, the cat's joining us. Sorry. Because I want the height. So and then I can use the Dear with the words, which is this one here, that says, "Oh, what fun." So I think what I'm going to do is a light brown background, so maybe crumb cake in the background, deep green trees, and then my deer I'm going to stamp in a brown, possibly soft suede. So let's give that a go. It's all in my head, which is slightly dangerous, isn't it? Okay, so I'm just going to bring that. If I open my card out like so, let's grab a brown blending brush. Here it is. And crumb cake. Actually, I'm going to use Sahara sand. I really want it just light. In fact, you could do, I'm only doing it brown because of the deer, but you could do, excuse me, like a calypso coral background to make it more like a sunset or something. But let's just give this a go and see. Actually, I don't need the mat for this purpose. So this is Sahara sand. So this is very light, so I'm not even sure that you're going to see this particularly well. Yeah, that is so light that even I can't see it. There's crumb cake, it was there all along. Okay, 10:30 just gone. There we are. So just adding this. So this is a variation on that, in that we've got a scene behind and a different image popped up as opposed to the same one. So anybody that's joined us, this is our design, but I'm slightly changing it round. So I've got a little bit of crumb cake being blended onto our card, and I'm stamping straight onto our thick basic white. But if you were a beginner crafter, or you weren't happy about stamping straight onto your card, then just cut a piece or work on a piece and then layer that up, like I have done with this one. So worked on a piece of white card, and in this case I've done a non-Christmas version. And the only reason for the blending brush really is just to sort of connect everything together. If you like a really clean and simple look, then you could not do the blending element at all. Just leave that out altogether if you wanted to. Could have made it blue for sky thinking about it, but never mind. Okay, that will do. Okay, so I've got my tree here, and I'm going to use shaded spruce. Just for something slightly different. So let's ink this up. See what it looks like on our grid paper. quite a light shaded spruce. Let me see if I've got another one. It's maybe a little less used. So I do have 2 complete sets of inks because I run classes, and obviously if you've only got 1 ink pad, that's better. Then people are waiting. Obviously you've got variations in colour that people, you know, so you could use Evening Evergreen or Garden Green or Shaded Spruce, but it's just useful to have more than 1 set. Okay, so let's go for it. This one. And you could obviously make a complete scene with this as well if you wanted to. So you could use the trees in the distance. Peaceful Deer's got some lovely different trees on there. Sorry, I might need to go and let Cassie out the back door. Go. Bear with me 1 second. Do apologise. Bless her. Right, let's have a look. Those are really stunning trees actually. I've not really used them, but they've come out really well. It's amazing how different they all look, isn't it? So am I going to do more trees? Okay, I think what I'm going to do is stamp my deer and punch her out and then see if I need more trees. That's my plan. So here is my offcut, and let's grab her. Don't get her out. I did. And where did I put her? There she is. You're going. It's right there in front of you. I'm sure. Okay. And I think I'm going to try. I'm not quite sure. I'm going to try early espresso because this has got so I've got 2 options really. This stamp is available as an open deer that you can colour in, and a deer with the wording in. But you really want a nice deep colour in order for that wording to stand out. So let's have a look. Sorry, I'm stamping on that mat. Because I've moved things around, it may not be in the right place. Let's stamp another one. I think that will work. There we go. Okay, cover up the ink pad. Find my deer punch, which is here. Take my glasses off. I can see what I'm doing. So I'm just taking time to line the deer up in there. Appreciate you may not be able to see all of that in detail. There we go. So there's one. And while I'm here, I'm going to punch the other one out. I can always pop it on the inside of my card or my envelope. Okay, and the other bits it's punching out are the antlers, and there's also a little eye. Okay. So let's have a look and see how this will look. So the reason I left it, because I wanted to see if I needed more trees before I put my deer down. Let me have a look. And I think I do. I think I'm going to put some trees behind. So I'm going to grab the same stamp, but what I'm going to do is just ink up the tops, because you're not going to see much behind here, and I don't want to make it too busy. And then it'll look hopefully like they're in the distance. So I wonder which was my lighter shaded spruce. Let's just try it and see. Yes, it was that one. Okay. So I'm just inking up the top. You can just tap it off. There we go. Oh. So inking up the top, stamping it off. Just want a little bit of something on here, because I think I inked that up a little bit too earnestly. Let's grab a piece of post-it note. So I just want to create the illusion of the scene behind, because my deer is going to go on top, like so. I lift that up, hopefully you can see that. Okay, so the question is, where do I put my deer? I think just there will work. I know she's leaping in the air. Otherwise you can have her down here, but I think she needs to be in front of that, like so. Okay, so I think I need to add a sentiment to start with, and I want one that's going to fit in there quite nicely. So I've got wishing you a wonderful year and friendships dear, sending love and peace this season. That would sort of fit in there. Or I could use the Merry Christmas. Or I can have it all just over to one side with Merry Christmas underneath here. What do you reckon? Let's just fold this over. Move the mat out of the way for the minute. So I think it may be just Merry Christmas underneath there. So it's all just focused on that side rather than trying to balance it out. And then I can put another sentiment on the inside. So this is a nice slim Merry Christmas. And if I felt it was too small underneath there, I could actually put it up there on the top. Sending love one is nice. Sending love and peace this season. Let's see if that looks any better. I think it would need to be quite close in because it's quite small. I think I'm going with the Merry Christmas. Sorry, Kerry. And stamp that in the shaded spruce. Right, I'm just going to bring this back and not get anywhere else. Like so. Yes, I'm liking those trees now. Just as well, I've got a few more Christmas cards to make, isn't it? I can use those. Yeah. And I think I'm going to put it at the top. So. We are, and then my dear is going to go just there. Right. I'm just going to trim a little bit of these edges so that I can use some slim pieces for the head. And some little ones for the legs. Oops. Which are all jumping around. Thank you, Bridie. Yep, simple and effective. That's, you know, that's all we need. And sometimes for Christmas, as I say, apart from perhaps special ones, if you've got a lot to do, you want to make it simple. Not only for the time, but the cost and everything as well. Just making sure you can't see those little pieces. And just want one on here. Cutting those up tiny. And there we go. Sorry, this is so small. I appreciate you can't really see that detail. There we go. Right, let's clear this out of the way again. So I'll say we've got coffee and card this afternoon in Toaster, which is a lovely venue. And then again on Friday in Brackley. Oh, that's quite all right, Jeanette. Yes, look forward to seeing you tomorrow for class. Oh, Kerry's very organised as well. She's finished her cards and sent them all. Excuse me, I'm going to sneeze. Excuse me. Okay. There we go. Now this would also look nice heat embossed, wouldn't it? If you did that heat embossed in silver. and punched it out, or in gold. But I quite like that as it's worked out. Let's have a look. So I've got these green ones from the Holiday Rhinestones, which is a closer match. So I'm going to use those. To finish that off, find my pokey tool, and then it'll be time for a quick coffee and then open the Stampin' Up! Delivery. So last order date for orders guaranteed before Christmas is quoted as the 16th of December, which is this Thursday. I think that's getting a little bit close, because they're saying a lot, not from Stampin' Up point of view, but from the courier point of view with UPS. With the recent changes here in the UK, people are a little bit more cautious, and therefore they're saying there'll be a lot more online last minute sales, and therefore all the couriers will be busy trying to deliver. So if there's something you want before Christmas, then I would say order sooner rather than later. So Kerry took part in the Christmas Stampathon throughout the year. That's a great idea. Yes, that is a good idea. I used to do a Christmas in July class. But obviously we weren't back in person quite then, and the thought of having not having classes for 12 months or so and then starting with Christmas was a little bit extreme. But there we go. So I hope you like that one. I'm pleased with that. It's come out slightly differently, but it's, you know, the same layout. And that is the thing to remember, is if you have a layout that works for one thing, try and use it for something else, a non-Christmas or a man's card. Changing the images completely is always worth a go. Okay, so thank you so much. This was the other one I did. So 2 Christmas cards this morning. Another 2 for my stash. So thank you so much for joining me. I hope the new position of my camera is an improvement. It seems to be. Looking at it from here, it seems to be anyway. I've got it a little bit closer, just slightly changed the position. I've got a nice new mat on here. So all is good. Thank you so much for joining me today. I will be back here. Oh, that's interesting. I won't be back here tomorrow night because we have our team Christmas meal. So some of us that are local are meeting up in a local pub for a Christmas meal, and that's at 7. So I will be here tomorrow. Maybe I'll be here at 10 o'clock. So maybe I'll be here the same time tomorrow in the morning, rather than doing an evening session. So yep, let's do that. 10 o'clock tomorrow, same time, same place. Thank you so much for joining me. Let me lift this up to the camera so you get a slightly better view of that. Is that one there? And then this one was our first one with our tree. So a very simple card. I hope you've enjoyed it. Enjoy the rest of your morning, afternoon or evening, depending on when you're watching. And if you're watching on replay or on catch up, then if you have any queries or questions, don't hesitate to just pop a comment, and I can then respond to that if it needs an answer. Thank you so much, everybody. I appreciate you joining me today. Enjoy the rest of your day. Take care. Look after yourselves and your loved ones, and I hope you can keep crafting. Bye for now.